It's a new moon again, and this time it's in the sign of Taurus. And you may have heard tropical Western astrology also say that this new moon is happening in Taurus. And it is. We actually agree, but we are on two completely different sides of the sign. Stay tuned to listen to how it is the same and yet very different. Hey, Star Family. We're talking about the new moon in Taurus today. And yes, you heard that right, the new moon in Taurus. This is one of those rare times where tropical Western astrology, Vedic astrology, and 13 sign true sidereal astrology align with the same sign. But the truth is that it's on two completely different sides of this sign. So tropical Western astrology is saying that we are about the end of Taurus, heading into Gemini, when really we are only just in the beginning of Taurus. Matter of fact, this new moon is going to align with the stars in the Pleiades star system. And that is at the very beginning of Taurus. So this is different. It is definitely a different energy, though we will be using similar language. We'll be talking about Mercury retrograde just ending, Pluto retrograde just beginning, and of course, the new moon, what that means, how it's aligned, how we're going to be feeling. So let's dive in. Let's check it out. Okay, so as always, we are using the true sky. And what do I mean by the true sky? Well, of course, I mean the sky that we can visibly see with our own eyes. We are taking into account the actual size of the constellations based on their location on the ecliptic, as well as the precession of the equinox, which does slowly over time send the signs backward. And so we are different than tropical Western astrology and even Vedic astrology. Now, new moons are always the beginning of the new lunar cycle. It is when the sun and moon meet each other in the sky. They align. They don't cause an eclipse, as they are not perfectly aligned, but they are together. The energy is merging, starting a new cycle. From the new moon, we go 2 weeks to the full moon, which is the peak, heightened fertility, and we come back around. And so this new moon energy is very potent. It does align with a darker, more like planting the seeds, right? Rather than the full moon, which illuminates, shines, brings out the shadows, showing, illuminating the darkness. What the new moon does is it's a much darker time. As you can tell, at night, there will be no moonshine. And so what that does is it has us in this planted stage, right? Or think of how like a seed would see once you put it in the dirt, right? It's covered, we can't see. And by the time it's reaching for the light, after that, it is planted, it is bloomed. So this is a seed planting time. This is when we pay attention to the very beginning of our journey. We are closing out one cycle, opening up another. And so we're always going through that. We're always creating new cycles, new energy to work with. And so when we bring our attention to the sky and actually consciously work with these cycles, we get a lot more out of life. We get to really be tangible co-creators in our reality. So the sun entered Taurus on May 14th, which was Mother's Day here in the United States. And it will be in Taurus until June 20th. Yeah, that's actually how it is. So due to the precession and due to the actual sizes of the zodiac signs, their dates will be very different from tropical Western astrology. So the sun is actually in Taurus from May 14th to June 20th. That is the time. We can look up, we can see it's verifiable. You can check it with your own eyes if you don't believe me. And so here we can see the sun and moon together in the sign of Taurus. Taurus is the inevitable slowed down energy after that initial spark of Aries. So Aries is, the spark of life, this initiation, this feeling of impulse. I just gotta go, I gotta move, I gotta do. It is ruled by Mars. traditionally. And Mars is the action energy. It's all about taking direction, taking action, getting things started. And so what Taurus represents is the inevitable slowdown, right? It's not as fast as that initial impulse. Taurus requires momentum. It's about staying the course. And again, this is from the journey of the sign. So after Aries, after the spark, whatever we've created during that solar energy, that solar new year, we then get to welcome in and now have to put in the work. It is, of course, much slower. Slow and steady is the motto for Taurus, but it has to keep up with that momentum. It's about inertia, keeping things going. Even when that initial drive is kind of lost, we still have to move along the path. And so Taurus is all about keeping up with the momentum. It's also a sign that rules foundations. Very foundational energy. Taurus is all about putting things together so that it creates security, stability, and basically it's the fertile ground in which we are going to plant our seeds so that we can grow. So foundations are very much like the soil being of earth, Taurus being of an earth sign. You can see where I'm going with this. This is that fertile ground where it does take work, it does take intention, it does allow the rest period. But we are very much looking to build solid foundations, something that we can build upon our structures of life, something that we can create and establish and stand on, essentially holding up the weight, holding up our dreams. Taurus is also a lot more predictable. So the Aries spark, where it's like new and being initiated, Taurus prefers a little more predictability. Taurus likes to know what's coming, when it's coming. It is a fixed sign. It does have that tendency to want to stay. And the stubbornness that comes from Taurus is really, again, because Taurus's mission is staying the course, keeping up momentum. Because once Taurus stops, and any Taurus in your life, and I mean true sky Taurus, check them out. Taurus is all about keeping the momentum alive, because once Taurus stops, once they're done working, they pick their feet up, you are not going to get them to move again. And so it's about having a more realistic pace. Taurus needs the necessary rest and the necessary work. And you make sure to utilize both, but don't rest before you're done working, because it'll be very hard to create momentum again. So again, it is a lot about creating this balance, this necessary slowdown, this changing of pace, and staying the course. Taurus also rules the five senses. It is the most tangible of the 13 signs. And Taurus is really about getting your hands on life, because Taurus is about possessions, what we have. Where Aries rules the I am, Taurus rules the I have. Taurus is very much mine, right? It has that tendency to be possessive with things, but it's really because Taurus is identifying the world around them based on the physicality. So you'll notice that Tauruses are usually very big on either like shopping or food or luxury items, right? And the reason is, well, they're ruled by Venus, and Venus is, all about love, beauty, indulgence, enjoying things, but it's also about our values. And again, these tangible things that we can hold, what we truly enjoy. So we're moving from the I am to the I have. And so we'll be looking around in our reality for our possessions. Right? What have we created? What do we own? What do we take ownership of? And what does it mean to have ownership over something? Do your possessions own you, or do you own your possessions? That's a good one to reflect on. Taurus prefers simplicity over chaos, hence the repetition, they're very good at like eating the same foods and not getting tired, or doing the same job and again not being bored and being able to stay the course. Very repetitive, often listening to the same type of songs. The reason this energy is so prevalent is, again, because this is about simplicity, reducing the amount of variables that bring chaos, that bring upheaval, that bring unnecessary changes. Again, Taurus being a little stubborn, not just because they want to be stubborn, but because they are meant to stay the course. They are not meant to deal with a lot of change. They are not meant to deal with a lot of variables, where a sign like Gemini or Pisces dealing with multiple duality. Taurus is very much foundational, dealing with simple truths, bringing value, and also paying attention to the worth. So Taurus also deals with confidence, self-confidence, not in the way of Leo with stage presence, but in a way of feeling good about yourself, what you're capable of. Taurus is all about self-reliance and our resources. Again, being very much a physical sign. What do I have? Identifying with our things. This is a theme and an energy that is always surrounding Taurus energy. And so while the sun is in Taurus and the new moon is occurring in Taurus, we are really being brought forth this paying attention to our physical reality, kind of coming down and away from the abstract, the spiritual, kind of like, the way Pisces is very much this all-encompassing astral energy. This is more of a mother nature energy where she is spiritual. We do have a spiritual connection to her, but she's very physically present. She is very here. It's evidence. It's physical. And so this is a physical reality sign. We have to be here. We have to deal with what is right in front of us. This is not the sign for escapism. This is the sign for paying attention, tracking, routines. Earth signs get a lot of shit for being either boring or boring, doing the work, expecting things, right? But this is their role. This is the energy they bring about. And so we're really paying attention to our immediate world. What do you have? What are you proud of? What do you own? What did you create? Are you supporting yourself? Are you tracking your finances? Things like that. It is a very, very tangible sign. There are a few influences affecting this new moon in Taurus, and they're very stable. First of all, the moon is exalted in Taurus, meaning it absolutely loves to be in Taurus. The moon is the fastest moving planetary body. Taurus is the slowest energetic sign. And so when the moon is in Taurus, even though the moon's pace doesn't change, we don't actually see her slow down energetically. The moon gets to kind of take a break and say, oh, I feel so stable here. Because if you think about how the moon rules emotions, our emotional realm, our subconscious energy, our reactive energy, and we put it in this very slow, stable, and predictable sign, our emotions love that. We get emotional security. We feel secure. We feel stable. We feel better. I feel like we could take a breath, right? And so this moon really is absolutely supported by the sign, and then is supported by 3 other planets. We have, let me just make sure I get them right. We have Mars sextiling both the sun and the moon together. We have Pluto trining the sun and the moon. And we have Neptune sextiling the sun and the moon. And trines and sextiles are considered very harmonious. There's not a lot of tension within this energy. And so what it does is it really is supportive, bringing out the best of this interaction. And so with Mars again being the ruler of our energy, our direction, the way we're able to move, it's a masculine energy. It's about moving directly forward in life. And so Mars with the sextile to the sun and moon increases energy, makes us a little feisty, right? We're willing to stand up for what we believe in. And that's a lot about Taurus as well. Taurus ruling the throat chakra as well. Speaking up, standing your ground, right? Think of Taurus, standing your ground, not budging, not being able to move. So Mars can bring about a little bit of this feisty energy coming around. And not in a bad way, right? Just speaking your mind, being confident, being able to communicate more clearly. This does also increase our drive because Mars being willpower and the sun and moon being together, the sun also our sense of will and direction. This increases willpower. So you also may find that when you are looking to stick to changes, stick to a routine, you'll find that if you channel this energy correctly, you align with it and you work with it, that you have the ability to stick to your decisions, stick to your goals, stick to your willpower and drive. And this also boosts vitality. Mars is making a harmonious aspect to the sun, both dealing with vitality. It's going to feel really good. And then with the moon aspect, with Mars specifically talking to the moon, this increases passion, right? Because passion coming from the emotional side. So bringing energy forth, we're going to be able to really dive into what it is we're interested in. And again, when it comes to also like speaking up and being a little feisty, we're passionate about things. Speak up, be heard. Why not? So then Pluto also, again, Pluto making a harmonious trine to both the sun and moon, Pluto being our personal power. Pluto You think of Pluto being the P, it's got a P in power. It deals with that. It's a tiny powerhouse planet. And it also deals with, our shadows and all the things we try to keep hidden. And I do think it's interesting that like Pluto is kind of like X-nade, and we're like we're trying to hide Pluto too. Just the same way Ophiuchus, but that's a whole nother thing. We'll talk about Ophiuchus when the upcoming full moon occurs. But anyway, so Pluto making this very harmonious trine is actually, again, supporting this personal power. So we have a really strong sense of purpose. Love that. Feels really good. Strong sense of purpose, deeper insights. And this also increases willpower. So again, we're getting a lot of support. The goals we set for this new moon, we have a lot of energy behind keeping to it, staying the course. That is exactly what Taurus requires from us. That is exactly the support that we are getting from this planetary aspects of both Mars and Pluto communicating to the sun and moon in the sky right now. We are getting the assistance to stay the course, the assistance to stay grounded, to stay rooted. It is really important that whatever we put our minds to, then we work on, that we commit to. So let's do that together, right? Because I could use a little more of that. And then the last planet that is making a major aspect to the sun and moon is Neptune, and it's making a sextile. I think I mentioned that before. And Neptune is the planetary ruler of Pisces. So this one isn't about power and action. This is about creativity, imagination, empathy. And so with this increased energy, we are slowing down. We are feeling a lot more sensitive to the ongoings in our environments. We're sensitive to people, we're sensitive to mood shifts, we're sensitive to the subtlest things in our field. So know that you'll be picking up on a lot more. And that does also kind of speak to Pluto, because Pluto deals with human psyche and seeing beyond the human veils and diving into the shadow self. So we will be picking up on hidden energies. This is also increasing imagination, creativity, the dream space. If you dream it, try it, right? We got so much energy behind with this Taurus energy sticking to the plan, supported by both Mars and Pluto. And so Neptune saying, if you can dream it, make it a goal. Try it. Why not? And so this is a really, really wonderful new moon energy. It's really not anything too trial-y, too difficult. This should feel really nice. Now, of course, depending on your own chart, where the sun and moon are coming together in your chart, and how it's aspecting personal planets, you personally may have a more difficult time with whatever's going on. But in general, what we're seeing in the sky is a lot of support, a lot of security, a lot of focus, and definitely a slowing down and paying attention and sticking to the goals, sticking to the plans. If you can dream it, you got the energy behind to do it. Take the necessary steps to build the vision, to secure a foundation for yourself based on your heart's desires, your willpower, what it is you want. So speaking of Pluto, Pluto went retrograde as of May 3rd. Outer planets, specifically Pluto, Neptune, they go retrograde for about 6 months out of the year. So this is a very long retrograde. Many of us are born with these type of planets being retrograde in our charts. And what retrogrades do is they invert energy. So rather than the constant external energy where these planets are able to express outwardly, projected into our realities for us to observe and work with, instead the projection goes inward. And so we're working very intimately with ourselves. And so again, Pluto being the powerhouse ruling personal power, dealing with our authority, our shadows, what we're afraid of. Usually we're afraid of our own potential and power. And so what's happening now as Pluto is retrograde, we are being called to look deep within and face our shadow selves. Our shadows are not going to necessarily be something outside of us right now. It is coming within. And so it's going to take us to kind of tap in, tune in, where are we holding ourselves back out of fear? Can we face those shadows? Can we look into it and see, that like there's a breakthrough, there's a transformation that needs to occur? Can we welcome that in? Can we self-initiate this transformation? reclaiming of our personal power too, not necessarily expressing blind authority over everyone, but authority over our own lives, taking control of that. And though Pluto will be retrograde all the way till October 10th, it is retrograde during this new moon, and Pluto is speaking directly to the sun and moon right now. So personal power, reclaiming your authority, standing up for yourself, all deals a lot with Taurus energy. So it's, again, very supported for us to dive into ourselves, find where we're holding ourselves back. How do we reclaim our power? How do we stand up for ourselves? How do we stand in our authority? We stand in our authority by taking ownership of our shadows, by taking ownership of where we're lacking and looking to improve in these areas. So adding value to ourselves. Anytime we are willing to face our shadows head on or face a fear head on, we are standing in our authority, standing in our power, and this Taurus new moon will absolutely love it. Speaking of retrogrades as well, Mercury was retrograde. I did not make a video for it, so talking about consistency here. Mercury is now stationed direct. So Mercury was retrograde for all of Aries season. So while the sun was in initiating Aries, really looking to move forward, be excited, Mercury was retrograde for that whole period and basically kind of put a dampening on the initiation, that desire to move forward. So if you felt like over the past few weeks that you had a lot of energy, a lot going on mentally, but didn't have like the outlets to actually express it or do or to follow through, that is completely normal because of the timing of Mercury retrograde with that Aries season fire. So Mercury actually stationed direct on May 14th, the day that the sun moved into Taurus. And so Mercury is now direct, but it won't be out of its shadow period until May 30th. And so what is the shadow period? The shadow period is when Mercury stationed retrograde and then it went backwards. So it has to now retrace the steps, getting back to its original point where it was in the sky when it originally went retrograde. Does that make sense? I don't have a diagram, but basically it went backwards and now it's retracing its steps. And I find the shadow period a lot more trialing than the retrograde itself. Because this is when it's like, I always use the analogy, and it's not a great analogy, but it'll give you a visual reference. It's like if you, don't judge me, if you hit something with your car, right? And then you reversed and you hit it again. Then you go forward and you're hitting it again, right? Going over it again. You're like really driving it home. Like, did you get it? Did you get that lesson? Like, did you kill it? So essentially, this is what we're being called to. Were we paying attention the first time we reversed and the first time we went past it, right? Did we see it as we move forward again? Are we catching the lessons? Are you cutting off what needs to be cut off? Are you starting with, these goals and ideas that maybe you finally set forth? It's about re-examining, right? So before we can completely move forward, even though Mercury's momentum is now forward again, it's not retrograde, it's still going back over energy it already did. It's kind of like a do-over. It's kind of like looking and saying, hey, I'm repeating this to you. Did you get the lesson? This is the time when I feel like everyone's like, why is my guardian angel or guides like beating me over the head with a lesson? Because literally we just hit the lesson, reversed it, and now we're going back over it to really make sure we got it. Did you get it? If not, when it comes back around again, it's gonna happen again, right? So the shadow period is definitely an initiation. It's nothing to fear, but you should be paying attention. Pay attention to the things that are upsetting you with not only yourself, your reality, and the people around you, but just in general, right? What is upsetting us is usually calling forth attention. If something's not going our way, what is that? Can we look into it? There's a solution there that's being presented somewhere. Did you get the lesson? Do you see it now? Is like what Mercury retrograde shadow period is all about. Do you see it yet? Do you get it yet? The guardian angel's hitting you on the head going, get the lesson. And so we're getting it now. And so pay attention to everything that is surfacing, everything that is irritating, things that are not going well, and things that are going right, right? We love paying attention to green flags too. So pay attention until, well, all the time, but specifically until May 30th. and digest those lessons. It's easier to do it now. So as you can see here, this is the sun and moon in the beginning of Taurus, right? Not the end of Taurus, like we're being told from tropical Western astrology. And it's a little hard to see here, but I'm going to zoom in. This star cluster right back here are the Pleiades. And the Pleiades are also known as the Seven Sisters. And a lot of people who channel celestial energy, they commune with this energy, this Pleiades. A lot of people resonate with being like from the Pleiades or calling themselves Pleiadian. This is, I believe, stars are stargates, literally, they're galactic portals. We can channel them, we can communicate with them, just like people channel with Sirius and, feel like they're Sirian and Orion and Vega. The Pleiades is a collective of stars that see with our naked eye amongst the stars of Taurus. This is where they live. And this is rather than like Sirians and Orion, this is a much more feminine and intuitive channeling. So Sirius tends to be, it's one of the more popular ones. Sirius is very bright and twinkles, and it works a lot more with logic, reasoning, strategy. It's very left-brained, where the Pleiades is very right-brained, again, being on the feminine side of the spectrum, dealing with all aspects of love, beauty, art, and creation. This is very motherly energy. This is all about being sensitive and feeling into things intuitively, coming from the heart space. And so with the sun and moon coming together in a new moon, we are really working with the energy of the Pleiades. We are really working with this higher calling to the feminine rest cycle, to bringing value in the way of what beautifies the world, what makes the world a better place to be in, not necessarily strategies to solve the world, but coming from heart-led compassion. You will be able to receive these codes coming through the sun's portal and really working with the Pleiadian energy. So think to yourself, like, what is the beauty? What is the love? What is the creation? What is the value I bring to this world? How can I make this world a better, more peaceful place? And really allow your own heart to light on fire. What drives you? What do you love? What is beautiful to you? Can you bring that into this world? Can you bring it into your life? Can you see your inherent value? Can you tap into your feminine, your inner knowing, and connect with yourself? It's a beautiful energy to embody. And I know it's hard to see here, so I can put up a picture, but those are the Pleiades, and we are working directly with them during this new moon. It's very important and very potent. So this is the Taurus new moon breakdown. It is a really pleasant moon. Again, the moon is exalted here. It loves it here. We're getting a lot of support from Mars, Pluto, Neptune, the Pleiades bestowing their feminine grace and gifts to us. Ooh, this moon feels so good. Can you feel it? Can you feel her? I love it. So as always, I love to hear as always, I love to hear how you're feeling. Are you resonating? Do you feel this Taurus season slow down, but we're working with the momentum, not quite losing that burning fire, feeding the fire consistently? It's a beautiful time. It's a beautiful energy. I'd love to hear how you're interacting with it and what your goals are for this new moon. Definitely set some goals, stick to them. 'Tis the season for consistency.